In this video, we are talking all about that Magic Key lawsuit settlement. Crazy stuff going on with that. We're also talking about this Avengers E Ticket, the mythical E Ticket coming to DCA. We're finding out, well, we found out a little bit of information over at Destination D23, but we actually found out even more information recently after the event, which is very, very interesting. We're going to break it down, what it all means up next on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We are talking all about Magic Key and Avengers E Ticket. And we are joined by Jay Sherer, the host of the Story Geek Show here on the channel. He's talking parks with us today. Jay, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was in the parks in, February? And I'm going to be back in the parks, if all goes according to plan, in November. So I get to experience Disneyland twice this year. I'm super excited about it. Former pass holder. Can't wait to talk about the parks. Love the parks. My favorite Disney thing is the parks, so I love it.
Awesome. Jay, if you can let everybody home know where they can find you on social media, all that good stuff, sir.
Find me over here at Jay Sherer, usually talking about Star Wars or something related to nerd stuff. In fact, this last episode was with Ahsoka, which we're going to do an episode on this coming weekend. Lots of different discussions. Most people love it. It was a great episode, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about, boys. So we're going to talk about that upcoming this weekend. But you can find me on Twitter right there, and just all the other things I do. I'll be promoting them over there, so check it out.
Absolutely. Well, welcome aboard, sir, and I'll chime you in. There we go.
Perfect.
There we go. And over here we got the Italian, Mr. Citrus George over here. Welcome back, brother.
Thank you. I had my plate of baked ziti, and I'm ready to rumble. So
there you go, buddy.
But if you want to find,
I got my cannoli over here, so there we go.
There you go.
I had the tiger. I had the tiger to start playing when we introduced George.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm the Rocky Balboa.
That's right.
But if you would like to find me on social media, you could do so on X at Disney George. You could also check me out, part of the podcast, A Walk with Walt. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Perfect. And I have to chime you in as well, sir. There we go. We got you in. All right, so let's dive into our topics at hand today. So the first topic on the books is this Magic Key settlement. Okay, so I'm going to kind of set the table a little bit because this has been going on for a few years, and maybe some people that are watching are not familiar with basically what this was. So essentially what this is it was a class action suit against Disney. And basically the premise behind it is that the top tier Magic Key advertised to customers that it had no blockout dates. Well, technically that's true. There were no blockout dates, but if you couldn't get a reservation, you were essentially blocked out, right? So there was a class action brought forth against Disney due to that, because they were selling this as a no blockout pass, but due to the reservation system, it was kind of indirectly kind of blocking people out, right? So it turns out here that, it looks like there has been a settlement. It says Disney agrees to $9.5 million preliminary settlement in the Magic Key annual pass lawsuit. It says the Walt Disney Company has agreed to pay $9.5 million to settle a class action lawsuit over the Magic Key annual pass program at Disneyland, according to a court filing Thursday. The lawsuit, filed in 2021 by Janelle Nielsen and other pass holders in OC Superior Court, alleged that Nielsen bought the $1,399 annual pass in September 2021. She found she was not able to reserve a ticket for much of November, despite tickets still being available for that month. The lawsuit alleged that Disneyland artificially limited the key reservations and the number of Magic Key holders who could visit on any given day. The case was removed to federal court in April of 2022. Okay, so basically what happened was that Disney and the plaintiff, they came to an agreement, and Disney decided we're going to write you a check, and pretty much that's the end of it. Jay, what are your thoughts on this outcome? Surprised? Not surprised? Where do you stand with this, brother?
Well, the other piece of the detail that I think is accurate about this is that more people entered the lawsuit with her, right? So this is not just her getting 9.5 million. This
Correct.
is everybody who has that particular key at this point would benefit from this. So when you divide that up, I saw in another article that it was something like $65 that everybody got, $67 or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
for mine. I'm waiting for mine.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a good meal at Blue Bayou for that. You know, like I just did the math, and it's $116 a month for that pass. So they didn't even refund a full month's cost, right? This is just the settlement they determined. My take on it is that it's actually seems to me to be relatively fair. I mean, how many times did these key holders want to go to the parks and not get to because there were no reservations available? All that information, I'm sure, had to come out in the courts. People wanted to go X amount of times. They weren't able to go X amount of times. And so this is the settlement they decided upon. It seems like a lot of pretty much a nothing burger to me, to be honest with you. It's like Disney admitted, okay, we weren't as clear. It could have been clearer, right? That's why they're settling. They're admitting that let's not let this go to court. Let's just give you guys some money. But it's not like they refunded them the cost of the pass. They didn't give them an extra pass for next year. I think at the end of the day, we have a lot more serious things in our courts that we need to deal with than this. Yeah. So to me, even when I started hearing about this from the beginning, I was like, maybe if you didn't listen very well as to what Disney was doing, but like if you knew they were going to have reservations and you knew what the reservations would entail, this was a different thing. It was a different thing for everybody, not just this pass. Everybody else had to figure out how to get reservations, and then sometimes those reservations weren't available. Now, could Disney have been a little bit clearer, or could Disney have made the reservations a little bit more available for this particular pass, which people are spending a lot of money on? I think yes. So to me, it's kind of like, yeah, it seems like everybody gets something, and it's not serious enough for them to get more, but it's not serious enough to penalize Disney anymore either. So to me, it's just kind of like, okay, this seems fair, right? Like,
I would agree with you, Jay. I think it's kind of a nothing burger. Yeah, and a lot of these companies, I mean, even like the only thing I would disagree with you on, Jay, it would be I don't think it's necessarily admitting guilt, because a lot of these companies, they just really sometimes they just write the check just to kind of make it go away. I think in this case, that might be what they were kind of doing here. Like, it would be cheaper for them to write the check and then not have to go through that lengthy trial process or whatever else might get turned out with that whole process. It's easier to write the 9.5 milli, make it go away, call it quits and whatever. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. For the most part, like, I think that this basically is kind of a nothing burger. 99.999% of these class action suits end up like this. Either they get tossed out, or if they don't get tossed out, it's just a settlement. Yeah. And at the end of the day, 9.5 million, like Bob Iger probably has that in his seat cushions. And like, it's not a big deal for the mouse. It's, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like whatever. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I mean, for when Disney says, yeah, we'll hand out 9.5 million, disperse it out to the number of people that had, the dream key. You break it up, as Jay had mentioned, you're getting like $67 and odd change per person. I mean, it's nothing really to, I'm fine with it either way, whether there was a lawsuit or not, whether Disney omitted to it or not. It's like, I moved on. I have the Inspire key now. Now, mind you, if it was where each person who had the dream key was getting 9.5 million, then it's like, let's take that shit to Capitol Hill, because if that's a nothing burger, I want mine with Wagyu beef.
Wagyu beef. Yeah, no.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, OG, because a lot of times what we assume the courts are doing in a situation like this would be considered justice. But what's actually going on in the court system is that people are essentially putting dollar amounts to, like, okay, it's going to cost us $25 million if we fight this thing and don't have to pay for it. And so we might as well just settle this because it's going to be is 9.5. I'd rather pay 9.5 than pay 25. So just get these people off our backs, right? Like
Exactly.
It's just a numbers game. So yeah, I totally agree that could be a giant part of this is Disney just going like, $67, no big deal. They're going to spend it in the parks anyways. Give them the money.
Right.
And I am curious because I see OG, you brought up Fresh Bake's video because he had some interesting takes on it. Because moving forward, even with the Inspire key, it doesn't fix the issue for people who have this key that is now paying $300 more than the Dream Key, but still have to challenge themselves through this reservation system. And a lot of times, more so for people who are locals, you can't go on a whim to say, you know what, I have a spare day, I want to make a reservation to go to Disneyland. Well, guess what? If the Magic Key slots are filled up, you can't use it, but you could purchase an individual ticket and there's availability. Right. So it's like, so why fork out an arm and a leg for a pass where then you would have to then purchase an individual ticket because of this reservation system? And I thought Dave's kind of take on this was kind of interesting.
Well, let's play what Dave said. I think he had a great video on this. Let's go ahead and see what he says here.
Stay tuned as I'll be discussing what all of that means with regard to the language used in those announcements made at Destination D. But let's get back to the core story here, the Magic Key lawsuit. It's been 2 years since the original suit was filed, and the end result is an out-of-court settlement for $10 million. And that's it. That's the extent of the known settlement details for the Magic Key lawsuit, $10 million. And first, let's observe that that settlement amount, is a laughably small amount of money for something that has taken them 2 years to come to. So small is that number, $10 million, that I have a hard time believing. You cannot convince me that that is the extent of the agreement, that is all that this was about. There's no way that I could believe that. If for no other reason, if Disney could have made all of this go away 2 years ago, back in December of 2021, if they could have made all of this go away for the paltry sum of $10 million, they would have done it back in December of 2021. But as comical as that is, the really interesting thing is that the original lawsuit brought back then was for $5 million. They were asking for a half of what they actually got. So no, this was not about money. It couldn't possibly have been. No way Disney spends 2 years and probably another $10 million fighting this in court for something that they could have easily solved for half the price back in December of 2021.
Okay, so before we move on with his commentary, he makes an interesting point there, right? So they were only asking $5 million, they were fighting it, and then they wrote a check for $9.5 million to settle it. What are your thoughts on that, Jay? Like, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Dave might be onto something here, or do you think this is classic, just like kind of what we were talking about before? Like, hey, maybe they didn't want it to go further into the trial and all that, where other stuff gets uncovered. Maybe not necessarily that they were guilty, but like in that whole process, stuff gets exposed that might be embarrassing to them or what have you. Or is there some other angle? What are your thoughts on what he's talking about here?
I can't see any conspiracy theories in this. I hate to be like the person who's like throws a wet blanket on all the conspiracy theories, but like, I just don't see it as being like to me, this is what happens behind closed doors, right? Right. One side goes to the other side and says, we're okay, fine, we'll give you the $5 million. And they go, you know what? No, we've got a bunch of people on this lawsuit. We're all on the same page. Citrus George is on our team. He's the Italian stallion. We're not going to settle this. Like let's go toe to toe. And Disney goes, okay, fine. We'll give you double what you're asking for. We'll give you 9.5. Will you take that? And then the lawyers go, all you're going to get is 9.5. So you better take 9.5. And then you got this other language about saying like they need to be clearer in their advertising materials and things like that. I mean, I just can't see anything else here that's under the surface that would be telling to us, right? Like, could it be that they're going to end the reservation system for this particular pass? Maybe. We'll probably talk about that as this video goes on. But to me, this settlement is not necessarily an indicator of anything else than they reached terms.
Yeah.
So it's boring, but it is what it is.
I agree with you, Jay, 100%. I think it's a very unsexy, very anticlimactic ending to this. And this is pretty standard for class action suits. You know, this is pretty much, there's a lot of back and forth, and they ultimately come to a settlement. And a lot of times,
how many times have you heard about this too? Like you have a LA Fitness pass, and all of a sudden you get a letter in the mail that says,
right,
LA Fitness is getting sued for their advertising practices around memberships. Here's $5. And you're like, okay, you know, it's nothing. You weren't even bothered by it in the first place.
Exactly. Half the time you get the check, you don't even know why. I got a check from Wells Fargo like a couple months ago for some class action thing. I had no idea even why I was getting it. You know, so it's like exactly. That's exactly it, Jay. I think that's kind of what's going on here. And there's a huge risk for these companies to not settle, right? So let's just say devil's advocate. Let's just say Disney believes they're in the right here, right? And there's no deceptive practices. Well, they're still going to want to avoid trial because there's still going to be elements maybe that they don't want unearthed, right? It's like if it's like these guys, these millionaire people that pay off these women, right? To like, the sexual harassment, whatever. Okay, well, they write you a check and just to be quiet, right? It's like there's other elements maybe in that guy's text messages that might not be criminal, right, but that might be embarrassing nonetheless. So it's better to just pay the woman off or whatever and have it be done, right? Same thing here with Disney. It's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we technically didn't do anything wrong, but you know what? If it goes to trial and they start to dig all this stuff up, there might be some embarrassing stuff here. So it's worth the 9.5 just to kind of, you know, squash it and be done with it, you know? What do you think, George? Is there, like, Dave is kind of alluding to bigger things. Do you think it's bigger things, or do you kind of agree with me and Jay that, hey, you know what? Standard class action.
I don't know. See, I'm like on the middle ground there, because I mean, I do see it just as a basic, simple class action that Disney just kind of wants to just be done with it. They got bigger fish to fry, so to speak, you know, of dealing with, you know, the city of Anaheim trying to get this approved with Disneyland Forward, dealing with all the shit that's going down in Florida with DeSantis and what have you. So something like this to them, it's like, let's just get it off our plate. Let's just give them what they want, be done with it. But on the other hand, on top of that, I still wonder, and this is what I was saying before, it's not fixing the problem where as each year goes by that these magic keys get more and more expensive. Whereas the Dream Key started out at $13.99, now it is up to, for the Inspire Key, what is it, $15.99?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So I mean, as time goes on, the price is going up, but there's no beneficial factor for these key holders that they are receiving. It's the same thing where it's, you have to make these reservations. If there's no slots available, you either purchase a regular day ticket or you don't get it at all. So it comes to the argument that, is Disney going to eventually have to make some sort of change? Not necessarily for the lawsuit. I think that's where I agree with you guys. I feel like that the change has nothing to do with the lawsuit. It's just the lawsuit is the lawsuit, or what have you. They're paying it off, whatever. But I think moving forward, Disney is going to have to try to come up with some sort of game plan where even if they do raise the magic key to an astronomical price, give us something back that benefits that price tag.
Okay. Understood. And I just want to say, George, you said take the middle ground. We are Star Wars fans here, so it's high ground, my friend. You take the high ground.
One, it's the reservation system. Oh, did I mention, by the way, that on the same day that the news broke about the settlement terms for the Magic Key lawsuit, the same day Disney stopped selling the Inspire Key, the only remaining Magic Key available, they stopped selling it. The most logical inference that we can make at the intersection of these two stories is that Disney is planning to make a change to one or more of the Magic Keys. And since the Magic Key lawsuit was actually over just one of the keys, the Dream Key, which is now the Inspire Key, it stands that that is the key which they would be updating. Once more, if we make another informed assumption, given that the lawsuit was actually over the relationship between the Dream Key and the reservation system, and how it was being used in conjunction with the Dream Key, it stands to reason that Disney may be finally offering a Magic Key that, yes. would require no reservation systems, the way it should be. Inspire keys will come back with no reservations required, but at a higher premium price. Meanwhile, the other remaining passes, the Believe key, the Enchant key, and the Imagine keys, or some derivation thereof, those will come back with a reservation system still intact, very much like how it used to be pre-COVID with the.
So that's interesting. He's kind of making the point because they put a halt, and they did. He's right on this. Like once the settlement was announced, they put a halt on all sales. Like I think you can only renew. You can't. There's no like new sales of these passes right now, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it indicates they're going to revamp the program. Do I necessarily agree with Dave that that automatically means the reservation system is going to go away for one of them? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I don't know. Well, what do you think, Jay? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree 100%. Here's the thing. If you have just come to a settlement where included on what he showed on his screen, it said we have to change our advertising language about what could be deceitful or misleading, you're going to take it down. And you don't want to risk selling another one and then having somebody go, you didn't take it down in time. Now you got another lawsuit on your hands.
Right.
So like, I mean, I know that they've changed the language of that since the Dream Key came out. So I'm acknowledging that it has probably changed, but it could be as simple as them saying, you know what, we need to have better language about the way we talk about this. Now, if we want to talk about the bigger picture about why would you sell a pass that does not have any sort of reservations tied to it, the answer to that question is an economic question. Would someone, seeing that the Inspire key does not have reservations and therefore saying I'm going to jump from whatever key I'm in now to the Inspire key so that I don't have to deal with the reservations, how many of those could I sell, and how does that affect my operational efficiency? So Disney's going to know all those figures, right? Disney's going to have the kind of thing. And by the way, I will say this too. If Disney is experiencing any kind of downturn in park attendance, that's going to be a signal to them to say one of two things. We need to provide more value for the prices that we're currently putting out there to get more people in the parks, or we need to, they've probably, I'm assuming that they have maximized their revenue per guest numbers, because we know that that's been off the charts good for them recently.
Right.
The revenue per guest is profitability per guest probably performing fantastic. The question now is, do we need more people in the parks? Would we make more money if more people were in the parks? That's really a question that is related to this reservations thing. I don't think that what Disney is going to do is make a decision that's just going to be, we're going to make a decision for pass holders because we are just love pass holders and we just hate that we put them in a position that they had to be confused a little bit, right? Like, because this is also going to feel a little bit more like if the reservation system was this evil thing, then all the other key people would be upset too, right? Like they'd be all having their own lawsuit. This was about language, about how it worked, and it not being clear enough for some people because of the block out dates language. So this is an economic question and a marketing materials question. It is not a did we hurt guests' feelings and do we need to make them feel better question. That's my particular view on the topic. So as he's talking about that, do I think it's a possibility? Maybe, but it's not going to be a possibility just because they settled the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. There will be other things that come into play for Disney if they make this decision.
Yep. Well said, Jay. Well said. I couldn't say it better myself. George, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, I completely agree with Jay. I feel like, despite that, I feel like down the road, they're going to have to try to figure something out. Do I feel like it's going to happen right now? No. And especially a key factor, no pun intended, that Walt Disney World is kind of dipping their toes in a little bit with their summer ticket special that didn't require the no reservation system, which that will be ending soon. Actually, I think it's probably in the, I don't know if it's supposed to end in September or October for that ticket to be completely invalid, but it's going back to just the regular 4-day pass, 5-day pass, where you still need those reservations, and also the annual passes for Walt Disney World. So if Walt Disney World is still having their reservation system still online, regardless if they tried it out a little bit with the summer deal, because while Disney World is a different state right now than Disneyland, they need those people going through those turnstiles. So more so, it's like, oh, we'll kind of bribe them a little bit. They'll buy a 4-day ticket without reservations, because obviously the reservations aren't filling up. That's not the case for Disneyland. Regardless of the reservation system, there are asses in those parks, and trust me, I've seen the difference between Disneyland and Walt Disney World.
You've seen those asses, George. I've seen those asses.
So if Walt Disney World, if they're not dropping the reservation system, Disneyland is definitely not going to, especially with the locals and everything. They know they can get those people in those parks regardless.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with both you gentlemen. So it'd be very interesting to see how this whole thing pans out. I mean, it's wild. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a reason for this pause, and it'll probably be something just like the class action suit was very unsexy, very anti.
Well, do you know, OG, this all kind of sums up into one thing, and it's about the almighty dollar, and I think it's all about that money.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Hold on. I have a money drop, so I got to play it.
Everyone silent. Listen to my money talk.
There we go, it's all about the money, and they're gonna pull those levers like Wastelands McCarthy has stated. And look, like Jay mentioned, like, if they're having when they're trying to maximize the per dollar spent for each person. If they feel they need more people, they'll pull a lever to get more people in. If they don't feel like they need more people, they won't. It's all a numbers game. And like Jay hit the nail on the head when he was saying, like, you know what? It's not about like making like key holders happy and like, appreciating the fans. Not about that. It's all about the money, especially right now. I mean, Disney right now is in war mode. It's a war. Bob Iger is a wartime CEO, essentially. This is all about keeping Disney like afloat, basically making sure it's financially healthy. So every decision they're making right now is about the money.
Well, it's even like the past Destination D23. Everyone thought they were going to go into that getting exactly what they wanted, but there were people that came out with some sour faces, not knowing, it's like Disney is not in the position right now to try to cater to each person. It's not in their mindset right now. Mm-hmm. And honestly, to be fair, they really can't right now. It's like they're in go mode. They're in survival mode to try to just kind of keep afloat. Not saying that the company's going down by any chance, but it's just they have to be careful with which chess move to move next, because it could either work out in their favor or end up, going down that rabbit hole a little bit more.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, look, we can travel back through time and test this philosophy in our most recent case study. There's no reason why when Iger came back, he had to keep any of Chapek's implementation. He didn't have to keep any of it. He would have been the most popular person on the planet for Disney fans if he had come back and said, reservations gone. Bob Chapek, he didn't know what he was doing. They're out of here. I'm not doing reservations anymore.
Right.
And Daddy Josh could have done the same thing. But they're clearly on the same page with this. And they're looking at their balance sheet, or their income statement, which if you want to go look at those, the parks are doing real well. It's going to be interesting to see how the summer did with WDW. I think that's a good point, George, that you threw out there. But in terms of Disneyland, it's doing phenomenal. Like, so all these things are like, look, they're going to your point, OG, they have levers to pull. They'll pull those levers when they need to. It doesn't seem like this is the time that they need to pull those levers.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And they even admitted that, Disneyland and the Disney Cruise Line is what's keeping it afloat right now. So they actually admitted that. And even to your point, Jay, when you had mentioned about, all they had to do was just flick the switch, turn the reservations off, they're good to go. I even said it on Twitter after they made the announcements at Destination D23. All they had to even mention was they're bringing back Magical Express at Walt Disney World, and people would have went nuts.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, people would have went absolutely nuts. But you bring up a fascinating point, Jay, where when Bob Iger came in, he was seen as like the savior. Oh, he's gonna save us from the bad Chapek era, right? And he comes in, and I mean, look, Iger has his own style, no doubt. And I'm sure there's some things here and there that he did differently or is doing differently. By and large, though, it's kind of business as usual since the Bob Chapek era. So I think that it really is like, I think from an outsider's perspective, we're like fans look at it like, oh, why would Chapek do that? And maybe even Iger was thinking that, like, why would Chapek do that? But once you get in there and you look at the numbers, you look at like the actual, like the pieces on the chessboard. Yeah, it made a lot of sense apparently because Iger's not revoking a lot of that Chapek stuff. So Chapek must have had a point, right?
Yeah, to that point, Iger was the person in charge with Chapek under him when they were trying to get as many people in those parks as they possibly could have in the late teens. So this is Bob Iger with teaming up with Chapek about the parks, and their basic thing was, hey, if we can sell as many of the highest level passes as possible and have Dave from Fresh Bake showed up every day, Mr. Cheesy Pop, we have Adam the Woo and Justin Scard and Thingamavlogs back in the day. Have all of them show up and create marketing content for us. Load up the parks, brother. Get them all in there. Guess what? They didn't revert back to that strategy, even though that strategy was successful in the late teens. So this is a post-COVID strategy that he could easily revert back to his former strategy if he wanted to. And he's choosing not to. I think it's really telling.
Oh, it's very telling. Very, very telling. There's something in those numbers, there's something there's something in there that's holding them back. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very fascinating. And it's so easy, I think for fans to just sort of like, oh, Chapek bad, he was a bad guy. And, there's always nuance to this stuff, you guys. And even with Bob Iger, you see it now with the Bob Iger bad stuff and all that. There's always nuance, and we're not in the room. None of us are in the room to really understand. If a lot of these people were like the ones that you see, like the vocal ones criticizing like Iger on social media and YouTube and all that, if they were in the room, they might make the same decision as Bob Iger. You have to be in the room to know what's going on, And sometimes from the outside, you're not getting that full picture. You're just not. Go ahead, Drew.
And we're not in the room, and apparently neither is Josh Hair Products tomorrow either. Because he doesn't even know what the hell's going on.
Nah. He's in Bloomingdale shopping for skinny jeans. Go ahead, Jay.
No, keep on that chain. That's funny. The last thing I'll say about this is Bob Iger does not want to pay the writers and the actors who will make him future revenue. Bob Iger doesn't want to pay them anymore. So why would he want to turn around and benefit the highest Magic key holders? Like you gotta look at holistically where this company is at. And Dave does get into that a little bit more in the rest of that video. But yeah, I'm not in a place where I'm thinking that Bob Iger wants to. He's being very intentional with every single little thing that he does, and he's looking at the numbers. He realizes his stock price has dropped. He realizes that stock price has dropped consistently way lower than what Chapek had it at. So it's like a whole thing where I go, man, you gotta be playing 3D chess, right? Like 3-dimensional chess with 3 layers of boards if you're going to be on what Iger's on right now. And to your point, we're not in those rooms and we don't play that chess. So
we don't know. Exactly. Nobody knows. Once you get in there, it might be a different story. So now, Jay, I know you have a hard out in a little bit, but I want to get to this next story before you leave because I'm very, very curious about your opinion on this. Okay, so we got this Destination D concept art, as you can see here, for this Avengers E Ticket, and it's that's pretty much all we got at Destination D23 was the art, And then a couple of days later, Imagineering released a Instagram video, which I will link in the description if everyone at home wants to watch it for themselves. You can definitely check it out. But here's like a synopsis of basically the meat and potatoes. And thank you to Drew Disney Dude. He says here, big update on the next Avengers Campus attraction. It's going to have large scale sets. Quote, and this is from the Imagineering video. We can't wait to share more about the physical worlds for this epic attraction and are excited to bring them to life with a blend of large-scale built-in environments and immersive media. Now, this is very interesting because this is Disney there's a lot of things going on here. This is Disney, in my opinion, number one, addressing the Destination D23 drama. A lot of fans were very disappointed with what was announced. And I think this is Daddy Josh saying, okay, we got to give a little more to sort of pacify people because we didn't give enough or give the right stuff at that event. Because clearly, look, this was dropped just a day or two after the event. It doesn't make any sense. Like, obviously, this was a last-minute decision for Imagineering to drop this, and it was probably because Daddy Josh was getting a lot of heat for the stuff that he announced at the event. Because clearly, I mean, I would assume this would have been announced at the event. As they couldn't have planned it like this. Okay, we'll give the concept art at the event, and then 2 days later, we'll drop this bombshell. I'm sure that was not planned, you know? So this is obviously a reaction to what the fan response was. But in regards to the meat and potatoes of the actual, tidbit, I think this is very good news. This actually makes me very excited for this attraction. It kind of makes me feel this is more along the lines of like a Rise of the Resistance or something like that, where you're going to have these big, massive physical sets mixed with, obviously, you're going to have screens. I mean, anytime you have like anything multiverse, you got to have screens. You know, you have portals and all this stuff. You can't not have screens. But this seems a little more involved than what was maybe sold to us at the event and maybe the past like year or so. Jay, since you have a heart out, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this news and your overall feelings about the attraction?
It's really interesting because when I first saw the concept art, I thought to myself, this ride is even further away from being released than I thought it might have been. Because we've been talking about an e-ticket ride in that space for quite a while now. And so that was immediately disappointing. And then we didn't really get a lot more other than like, yeah, there's going to be an e-ticket ride and it's going to look like this with portals. And I think it was Dave from Fresh Baked that I was listening to. By the way, shout out to Dave at Fresh Baked. Fantastic stuff. Even when I don't agree with him, I love what he's putting out. So like great stuff, Dave. Like, we appreciate you. I think he even said like this, it sounds like a Smuggler's Run attraction. And so that's what I thought. It might have been Braden too. It might have been Braden that said like, sounds like a Smuggler's Run attraction. And I go, yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like we're going to go through this giant queue line indoors, and then we're going to jump on a simulator, and then we're going to go to all these different worlds in the simulator. I'm not that excited about that because a lot of the simulators out there make me motion sick. So like for me, that's like not necessarily like something I'm looking forward to. Now, I will say this. I think that Disney in many ways was the pioneer for dark rides. Or just a rich history of dark rides in Disney parks. They've upped the thrill factor with Indiana Jones in the 90s, which was just a phenomenal dark ride. My favorite ride of all time, really. I love what other companies have done. Universal has a fantastic Spider-Man ride over at Islands of Adventure on the in Florida. I love the idea of a plussed up dark ride. And so with them saying this is going to go into different spaces, you're not going to be confined to one motion simulator. I'm not a person who's anti-screen, but I am reticent about simulators. Even Flight of Passage I can't do because I get off the ride and I'm like sweating profusely trying not to throw up, you know, like I love the ride, the concept. I just my brain just doesn't deal with it well. So, but the idea that we could be getting like another Indiana Jones type of ride or a Spider-Man ride that's out in Florida and Islands of Adventure, those rides are some of my favorite rides. I can do them. I can take my nephew and do them with him. I don't have to worry about it, getting sick. I can still have fun. It's not too intense for me. Those kind of rides, I think, have a rich history. Disney has been super creative with them. Rise of the Resistance is a phenomenal dark ride. And then they're going to bring good technology to it. So I think that video saved, to be honest with you, I think it saved the presentation at D23 because for someone like me, I basically wrote this right off as like, okay, I mean, I'll ride it and we'll see how good it is, but I'm not that excited about it. Yeah. But when I got the follow-up video, I go, actually, there's a good reason to be excited about this. Rich history of doing this well. really good concept for us to be able to see. And we're dealing with Marvel, so they may reboot the franchise at some point in time. Now they can actually do it with, if there's a ride, they can go, we're going over to, whatever they call it, Earth 616 now, or multiverse. They can jump us into a different place. Gives the ride kind of more legs to it. So yeah, I'm actually very, very positive about this, despite the fact that I was kind of like, okay, after D23 announcement, they kind of salvaged it, to be honest with you, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jay. And yeah, they salvaged it, and I think that was kind of the point. I think they knew they kind of, maybe they didn't drop the ball as hard as they dropped it at the Expo last year, but I think Daddy Josh knew that he dropped the ball nonetheless this time too. And 2 times in a row, he had to do something. So here comes Imagineering physical sets. And it was exactly what fans were concerned about, right? Mm-hmm. They were concerned, like you said, like it was just going to be this motion simulator thing. They wanted to let fans know, hey, look, you know what? No, it's not. We're going to have these big sets, physical sets. Yeah, very encouraging. George, actually, before I get to you, George, Jay, I know you have a heart out. I just want to ask you one quick question before you leave.
Okay.
They're very important. Your thoughts on the alien?
The best. Here's the best joke. It's not my joke. It's I retweeted it on Twitter. So go follow me on Twitter if you ever want to see like a good retweet every once in a while. But somebody said, "Good for Mexico for showing a modern day photo of one of our average senators."
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty funny. I do think that this would make a good addition to the Indiana Jones queue line. So if they want to ship them back over to Disneyland, I think why not put them in there? But
exactly.
Well, that's just perfect now, because now they'll have another theme park war between Disney and Universal of who gets it, for Indiana Jones or Men in Black.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Or even Mummy. Maybe Mummy could take this one,
Mummy could take it over. Who knows what these things are, but I don't know. It does not seem like a real alien to me, so we'll see where it goes.
Absolutely. Jay, brother, thank you so much. It's great having you on here talking parks with us, man. We definitely have you on more talk theme parks with us. It was a lot of fun, Jay. If you could let everybody home know where they could find you on social media before you head out.
I'm over here at Jay Sherer. You can follow me over on X, and I am getting into discussions with people and trying to keep it cool and collected. But I enjoy that. And if you follow me over there, you can find all the other information about me doing shows with you guys. With a Story Geek show coming up with Ahsoka. I've got other stuff I do on other channels as well. So be sure to check all that stuff out. But the easiest way to find that stuff is to follow me on X. Cannot thank you guys enough for having me on. I love talking parks. It gets me hyped about the parks. I love being able to respond to videos from cool creators like Dave from Fresh Baked. So appreciate you both, and have a good rest of the show. I will talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Jay. Take care, buddy.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye. All right. So, George, let's get back to business, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are no longer okay. Well, I'm going to get your thoughts on the alien later, so don't think you're off the hook with the alien thing, buddy. We're going to talk aliens later. But what are your thoughts on this? About the big physical sets, all that good stuff. Where are you stand with this?
Yeah, so for me, there was mixed reviews in my mind for the Destination D23. There were some things that I was excited about, some things were mediocre, and some things I was disappointed with, where I'm just sitting back thinking, like, I can't believe I shaved for this. But it's like, but it's like, this was one of those instances. It was like, okay, we initially got the e-ticket announcement. I believe it was back in 2019, which I know would happen in 2020. Everything kind of, went to shambles and shits, but 4 years worth, and all we got was 3 pieces of concept art of the ride vehicle. That was it. That's all we got. So it was like, after I heard this, I was like, okay, they're beating around the bush with this thing. It's like, are we going to get any kind of new information? And I guess I'm not the only one that felt that way, because lo and behold, 2 days later, here it is, coming from Imagineering. So I love how the ride vehicle, how they kind of gave a little bit more info to it. It's like a hybrid of all the superheroes. So you have like the Stark Industries type of technology mixed with the Wakanda technology, tied in with the Doctor Strange multiverse type of mystic arts powers that can like transfer the vehicle back and forth to different worlds or what have you. So I love how they intertwine that all into one ride vehicle for the storyline. I think that's quite genius. The fact that they are adding physical large sets, that got me completely hyped up. It's like they could take their good old damn time. I don't care as long as they produce something that is accurate and something that is worth waiting for. So when I heard physical sets, what I thought of immediately was my own personal kind of hybrid is like Rise of the Resistance meets The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, and even a little bit of Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Not like with the Kuka arm and everything, but just the notion of having screens, and then whatever is showing on the screen, it diverges into a real life set. So, for instance, like when Universal showed the dragon on the screen where it's chasing Harry on the broom, but then as it segues, you have this giant audio animatronic of the dragon, and then the same goes for the Dementors and what have you. I'm kind of hoping Disney is now taking that route, where if they show us something on the screen, then they can actually give us an actual physical set piece of what we are seeing on the screen.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. I think you're onto something with that. And like you said, it won't be a Kuka arm for sure. But they did mention that this vehicle is supposed to be land and air. So it's very possible that you're riding along and all of a sudden you get lifted up. Like maybe there's like a hydraulic thing underneath and you get lifted off the ground and you kind of do your thing, right? So, I mean, it's not a Kuka arm per se, but it's like you're being lifted off the ground to have this flying motion, and then you drop back down to have the driving motion. There might be a little bit of that Forbidden Journey kind of vibe energy in there. So that's very, very interesting. This ride, I think... Oh, go ahead, George.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, because in the very beginning with the first piece of concept, the individual seats were supposed to break off, and you would have your own individual personal experience, like with a climactic battle between the Marvel superheroes and Thanos and his minions or what have you, or whatever it was supposed to be. So I wonder if they're going to.
Hey, this is a Disney Channel, man. You're talking minions over here.
Minions.
What's going on, dude? Talk about that here? No, I'm kidding.
And of course, I know the UOG because I know how much you love the minions.
I love them. I'm just kidding.
But so they may incorporate some of that technology. As you said, it may not be like the individual seats or like the Kuka arm, but they may use kind of like a levitation type of mechanism to give you that feel, that free feeling of flying from ground to air. And also, I wanted to touch upon, this is perfect for DCA. DCA is crying for something that can like really get people into that park to say, you know what, we're going to spend the day at DCA because of this attraction. They have that with Radiator Springs Racers, but it's not enough. One attraction can't withhold that park, and Radiator Springs Racers needs something else to kind of balance it out. And I feel with the information that they released to us, I feel like that this is the e-ticket that will definitely help DCA.
No, DCA needs another big immersive e-ticket. And a lot of fans are going to come at me, well, what about the Incredicoaster? The Incredicoaster is not an e-ticket. It's a roller coaster. It might be a really good roller coaster. See, this is the same thing. Oh, man, I'm going to, dude.
Here we go.
Here we go. I'm going to throw my keyboard. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. This is probably going to get me canceled, but I don't care. Because the Universal fans are going to get real mad at me for this. But this is the thing. There's a difference between a good roller coaster and a good themed experience, okay? So the Incredicoaster is a good roller coaster. Absolutely. It has the launch, the loop, this, that. It's fun. It's really, really fun. The Velocicoaster is the same thing. It's a fun roller coaster. It's not a really good immersive themed experience, though. Let's be freaking honest with ourselves. So DCA, yes, it has Radiator Springs Racers, which is a good themed experience, but that's it. Like that's the only big, like really immersive e-ticket they have. Incredicoaster is not that. It's not an immersive e-ticket. It's just not. It's a good roller coaster, and that's it. So DCA really does need something like a big event kind of attraction, like a Disney style attraction, you know? And I think this
And-
Avengers ride might be that thing.
Exactly. And one can argue, they could say, well, what about Mission Breakout? Which that is true, but we also have to think too, Mission Breakout was again a reskinned attraction that
Right.
was already there prior, that was Tower of Terror, which became Mission Breakout. This e-ticket is something brand spanking new from the ground up, nothing that's being reskinned or rethemed or changed. This is a brand spanking new, right out of the package, out of the cellophane, new attraction. And I'm glad DCA is getting it.
Yeah, it needs it. It absolutely needs it. I've been screaming at the top of my lungs for the longest time. DCA needs more of this kind of stuff in that park, that really wow Disney experience kind of attractions. Finally, it looks like it's getting something like that. And then after this, we can hopefully work on Hollywood Land and getting that up to par and really fleshing this park out. DCA, I've said it so many times, has a lot of potential. There's so much potential there with that park. You just got to put the money in and the TLC into it, and I think it'll be fine. But did you say Mission Breakout, George?
I did.
There we go. Well,
Which actually, that's the best route that I feel like Disney can take with DCA. Complete that e-ticket attraction with the Avengers Campus, and then, as you had mentioned, move to Hollywood Land, get that kind of figured out. And while they're doing that, then they could start the legalities with the zoning for Disneyland Forward. So while that's taken place, because that needs to happen before the DCA expansion.
Right.
So at least they'll have some things in the pipeline that can kind of hold them over to work on DCA while we're waiting for Disneyland Forward to move forward.
Now, I want to ask you one thing, because, okay, so we've been seeing these videos. Let me see if I can actually bring it up, because I'm telling you, everyone at home, these videos coming out of Hong Kong Disneyland for this Frozen
with the Frozen. It's
oh my God,
it's nuts, and it's a
dude,
good nuts.
It's like, yeah, it's a good nut. It's a good nut. Yeah, let's keep it family friendly, George. Let's keep it family friendly.
Yes.
Let's not. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see here.
Especially at night, you see this at night, and then but when you see this, like, oh my gosh.
I mean, this is crazy, and this is courtesy of Scott Goosen, which we love. Scott Goosen. Scott Goosen's the man, dude.
Yeah,
he's the absolute man. But this is a Galaxy's Edge, Pandora, Disney Sea level land.
it
like
really
you
is.
mentioned,
and
it really is.
And honestly, I'm very impressed because Hong Kong Disneyland is like one of the international parks that always kind of gets the backseat, so to speak, compared to some of the other international parks like Tokyo and Shanghai. So I'm very impressed with this. Actually makes me want to go to Hong Kong to actually see this in person.
Oh no, absolutely! I would love to go to Hong Kong. I'm a huge Frozen guy. I am. I'm a Frozen guy. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to pretend to be like, oh, I'm super macho, man. I don't like fucking Frozen. No, I like fucking Frozen. I like that movie. I like that movie. This looks awesome. Now, the reason why I bring this up, though, is we're not talking international parks necessarily, but you brought up Disneyland Forward. This is the kind of thing that I think we're going to see with Disneyland Forward. These kind of like one IP lands, like this Frozen thing. I think that's what we're going to see. I really do. Like with DCA too. Like when they decided to expand DCA into that, was it Timon or Pumbaa parking lot over there by the Pixar Hotel? It will probably be a one IP thing, or maybe one or two. Maybe it'll be like Encanto and Coco or something. But it'll be something like that. Very reminiscent though of this is what I think.
Right.
Disneyland
Or
Forward.
we may even see maybe something of Wish, depending on how well that does at the box office.
Yeah. Now Wish, that's true, because I think Wish, God, I don't know enough about Wish, but I know it's a fairy tale, but it actually does. I think it takes place in Spain, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's
so. Yeah.
I think it's very heavily influenced on the Spanish culture and stuff. And California, look, that's the thing. Like we've been talking about that a lot here with the Latin culture in California and how that fits perfectly with California Adventure. So maybe they will do that. I still kind of feel like Coco and Encanto, I think is more DCA maybe. I think that Wish
Yeah.
though, because it does
I
feel
agree.
more fairy tale.
Disneylandish. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on
probably
that.
more.
Now, I don't know if it was in the same video, but did you see the release of the attraction for the Frozen?
Yes, the sleigh ride,
The sleigh ride, like
the coaster.
the way that, I mean, I know it's like designed to kind of like fit like how it's the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at
Right.
Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, but tie that into this immersive land already.
Oh,
I could
dude.
still imagine what this thing is going to look like in person, like
Yeah.
at night with all the lights on. I'm telling you right now, we might have to take a little detour after Tokyo.
Boom. No, I'm telling you, man. Oh, and that Tokyo thing. I was talking to our friend Showcase about that today. Actually, we got to get down there, man. We got to get down to Tokyo. We got to check it out for sure.
Yeah, we
Because
do.
I really want to check out this Fantasy Springs and all that stuff over there. And like you said, we can make a detour and check out this Frozen thing over at Hong Kong, dude. And hey, man, your boy OG it'll probably be a one-way ticket, George. I probably won't be coming back to California, but hey, whatever.
You never know. Hey, it might be a two-way, one-way.
Oh, you're gonna stay, or we're gonna do
yeah. Might as well. You never know.
Fuck it. Now, before we go, I wanted to ask you your opinion because I asked Jay,
Yes.
what do you think? Is this real or not, dude? Is this an alien or not?
I mean, I mean, the actual look of it, I mean, obviously is designed to look like an alien, but it's too perfect for it to, like, I can understand, like, if it was something like you would see, when I say perfect, like, you could actually see the whole outline of, like, this
Yeah.
thing. It's like, I could understand, like, if, like, you're missing, like, a piece here or a piece here. It's like it was sculpted in like, a sand dune. It's like, I don't
I don't know.
Even the face, like the face looks like it's carved. Like there's no like real like rich detail to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'm mixed on it. Like, okay, here's the thing. It's like, because I watch a lot of like, I'm real nerdy with stuff. Like, I'll go into Netflix and I'll watch all these like Egyptian like tomb documentaries, and they go in there and they find like the mummy tomb, and they get the mummy out. It's like this like little body, and it looks like this. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. Like, it looks like this, almost identical, and they're pretty well preserved, to be honest. I mean, they look pretty good. So I'm like, I'm kind of torn because I'm like, okay, well, the ancient Egyptians were able to kind of mummify and really preserve these bodies. Maybe this is the same kind of thing. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. I just feel like, see, I'm kind of still in the mindset of like they wouldn't show it to us if it was real.
Right.
I don't know.
Now, see here. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm the type of person that's very skeptic. I'm very optimistic. I do believe, and I think you and I actually touched upon this with an Orange Nerd show several years ago.
Yes,
that
you did.
That I am one that I do believe that it may not be like this kind of alien type notion like Men in Black or Independence Day or something like that, but I mean, I do feel like there is other type of life beyond Earth.
Right.
We have so many different planets, different galaxies, different, so I can't just foresee that we're the only living, breathing thing out there. So it's not far-fetched to me if this is real.
Right.
I just feel like this particular thing may not be, but I mean, it very well could be.
It could be. No, I agree with you. I mean, look, this universe, as far as we know, is like pretty much infinite, okay? And there's so much out there. And for us as human beings to be so arrogant as to think we're the only intelligent life in this infinite universe is ridiculous. Seriously, not only is it arrogant, not only is it ridiculous, it's mathematically impossible, okay? There is definitely intelligent life out there beyond Earth. For sure, okay? Now, I agree with you. Is this it? I don't know. I don't know if they're here. I don't know if they've been here or not. I don't know. But there's definitely intelligent life out there in the universe somewhere. It's a fascinating thing. Now, this is in Mexico. I think it was some congressional meeting, and they unwrap these bodies. And they're little, too. It's funny because you think they'd be like human being size. They're not, dude. They're like you're like the size of my phone.
Now, as I said,
Like,
this
thing.
very well, as I said, could be real, but it kind of also reminds me of an episode of The Simpsons. You know, like the
Right.
Simpsons did it, where they were doing an archaeological dig, and they uncovered a skeletal figure, but the skeletal had wings.
Oh.
So they all were assumed that it was a dead angel. And so that they were like thinking, okay, the end is near and what have you, and they said the end will come at sundown and what have you. Well, here it ended up becoming a marketing tool that it was the end is near of high prices. It was to open up this gigantic mega store, and they were using that as a gimmick. So it's like, could this be where The Simpsons was predicting something that, you know, someone kind of planted it just to kind of create a storyline, you know? Or is this an actual real life, you know, alien space being?
We'll see. You know, there was a story real quick before we go. There was actually a story. Man, I got to find the link where this guy, I think it was like an investigator of some sort. There was a crashed alien spacecraft. I think it was like in New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. And he kind of like told his story. Okay. Now, again, anytime you're dealing with aliens or whatever, this could be bullshit. Okay. But this is the article I read. If I can find it, I will link it down below. But what he was saying was that he was tasked to investigate this crashed extraterrestrial aircraft. So when he entered the aircraft, so the outside of the ship was like a normal ship. Like it had like a certain size to it, like an airplane would. You know, you could look up from the outside and go, okay, it's that big, it's that wide, right? What he was claiming was that the ship crashed. You can see the ship's size, you know, from the outside of the ship. But when he entered the ship, it was like a football field. It was bigger than the outside. So it was like, picture this, like picture basically like your car. And then when you enter your car, it's like the size of like a stadium inside. It's weird, you know? Yeah. So the inside was bigger than the outside. And he was saying he couldn't stay in there for very long. He got like kind of disorientated and kind of nauseous, and he had to leave, and he like threw up and the whole thing. So this was like an account of a person. He was some sort of investigator, if I'm not mistaken. And I can find the article. I read it a couple months ago. I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was really, really crazy, but we're seeing a lot of these kind of alien stories lately, right? Of the, like, it's kind of like, it's getting more and more mainstream, and we're seeing a lot of it now. I don't know what's going on. I love the stuff. I'm a very curious person. So
I am too. I find it very interesting to like dive deep into like conversations or research or and honestly, you know, if there are aliens out there and they're searching around the galaxy or the universe trying to find intelligence, guess what? You're not gonna find it here.
Oh no, you're not gonna find it here. And actually, we are. 1 second, I think we are getting a transmission from beyond. Okay, yeah. So
Chewy agrees with me.
Yeah, exactly. George, I want to thank you, brother, for coming on. And I want to thank Jay Sherer. Shout out to Mr. Jay Sherer for coming on, talking theme parks with us. On Sunday, we're going to do a big Ahsoka Episode 5 show, all about that episode, which is absolutely crazy. We're going to talk all about it. This guy, George, will be with us, Jay Sherer, probably a few other people as well. But check that out. We have a lot of great stuff in the pipeline for you that we're working on. But George, I want to thank you so much for coming on, brother. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X at Disney George. You could please check out the if you can, please check out, the podcast, A Walk with Walt. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Yep, absolutely. And since we're talking aliens,
fly me to the moon.
There we go. Thank y'all so much for watching OG55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on the alien, the Mexican alien, the Mexico alien or whatever. I don't know what we're going to call it, but comment down below with your thoughts on that. Comment down below with your thoughts on the Avengers E Ticket. which is very, very interesting. And comment down below with the Magic Key lawsuit settlement. A lot of people were predicting doom and gloom with that. I mean, I know a lot of people on Twitter and stuff were saying like, oh, discovery, it's going to lead to discovery, yada, yada, yada. Didn't happen with that. It was pretty much a standard class action lawsuit settlement. I don't know, kind of basic shit. But hey, maybe you guys see it differently at home. Comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Heavy hitters, yeah, go winners, yeah, yeah. Put 'em up, who the will is?